But first tonight, take a live look at the White House where they are mourning the loss of South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, that flag at half-staff there. I'm Ben Briscoe. The medical examiner says the Republican senator died because of a torn artery. It happened last night, right after Graham got back from a trip to Ukraine. Graham was campaigning for a fifth term after over 2 decades in the Senate. The former Air Force lawyer became one of the Republican Party's leading voices on foreign policy and national security. And after years as a Trump critic, Graham became one of the president's closest allies and strongest defenders. Trump says he's devastated by the loss.
I just can't believe it. He was like a member of the family to me. It's very tough, actually.
See, this evening, several North Carolina leaders are reacting to the news. Senator Tom Tillis posted, Lindsey was a lifelong public servant, a tireless champion for South Carolina, and an outspoken advocate for America's role in protecting freedom throughout the world. Senator Ted Budd also said Lindsey Graham was a dedicated public servant and friend. As an unapologetic champion for America and our allies, his loss will be felt immensely in the Senate and around the world. The balance of power in the Senate is narrow following Graham's death, with 52 Republicans compared to 47 Democrats and independents. But South Carolina's governor is expected to appoint another Republican to this seat right here, giving it back to 53 Republicans, meaning the balance is not expected to change for long. But what could change is President Donald Trump's influence in the Senate without one of his most experienced allies helping move his agenda forward.
Senator Graham's ability to make deals and connect the dots and really finish legislation was something that South Carolina relied upon. It was something that the Trump administration also relied upon greatly.
Elon political science professor Jason Husser says Graham helped guide budgets, judicial nominees, and military funding through a closely divided Congress. Husser says Graham sometimes disagreed with Trump, but when the president's biggest priorities were on the line, Graham was usually a reliable ally.
He regularly, even up until recently, would still disagree with the president, would sometimes vote against what the president wanted. But at the end of the day, he was a very reliable senator in terms of passing the big key pieces of legislation, getting major nominees through, as well as making sure certain funds got there that would have otherwise slowed down the agenda.
The first test could come this week. With a bipartisan bill, Graham was pushing to punish Russia. Senator Chris Coons says Graham told him President Trump would support the bill, and he now hopes the Senate passes it in Graham's memory.
The most important bill Lindsey Graham was working on with Senator Dick Blumenthal was a bill to apply greater pressure, more sanctions, more tariffs to try and deter Russia's brutal war of aggression against Ukraine.
South Carolina can appoint someone to fill Graham's seat, but replacing his experience, relationships, and influence in Washington will take much longer. Coming up in about 13 minutes, our team heads down to South Carolina to talk with those who knew him best in his home state.